Hey everybody, this is Chris, and today we are going to do a tutorial on removing your ESCs or replacing your ESCs in your motors on your Hubsan Zino. This is not an easy job. If you have a, say, Hubsan 501S or a 109S, it's so easy to replace the ESCs or the motors on those quads. And now you've got a Zino and you need to replace the ESCs or the motor, or both, which I recommend. If you're going to do one, do both, because it's not an easy job, and while you're in there you might as well do both of them. But you've got yourself a Zino, you've got to replace these parts, and hopefully this video will help you out. But I just want to give you a few pointers before you watch the video, a little bit of information if you will. It's not an easy job. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the hardest, it's probably an 8. I didn't find it hard myself, but I found it's a little tedious and frustrating, just trying to work with wires that are very short. They don't pull out of the arm very far. You don't have much to work with at all. I chose the hardest leg to work on. That's the front leg with the extension on it. You don't have as much room with that one, so that's the one I chose to do just to show you. But I wanted to say that when you buy a new ESC, it comes with all the wires. All the wires are already attached to the ESC. You have 4 black wires. So what I recommend is you take and unsolder those 4 wires off of your brand new ESC and just use the ESC with your original wires. Because if you have to go and reroute every one of those wires back up through the arm of the Zino and into the body, it is a ton of work. I couldn't imagine how that would definitely be a 10 on the scale of 1 to 10, which 10 being the hardest. I have not done that. I will not do that. If my Zino ever needs it, I'm done. It's going to be a parts quad. So I don't recommend going that route, but what I've done is I've taken all the screws and everything out already, so I can do a real quick breakdown to get you to that point if that is the route you have to take, because maybe your arm is broken as well. So what we're going to do in the video is just pull all the parts out, unplug everything, pull all the parts out. It'll be in a quick fashion. If you want to know how to take the Zino apart in a more detailed fashion, at the end of this video I will have a link to my video showing you how to take it apart step by step, what all you have to do and remove to take it apart step by step. So in this video we're going to kind of do a little fast forward version of it. Since I already have all the screws out, we're just going to take it all apart, get you to where you need to be if you need to remove a arm or leg, whatever you want to call it. And hopefully you do not need to do that, because it's not an easy job. So if you go that route, you're gonna unsolder everything from the board that's inside the Zino and take the leg off, and then replace your leg and wires and ESC and motor, whatever you're doing, and then put it all back together. It's a big job. So then once we're done with that, we're just going to go ahead and move on to replacing the ESC and the motor. Mine does not need an ESC or motor, but we're using the good old sacrificial lamb that I have, the one that I always take apart and do all my videos on for stuff like this. And we're going to unsolder every wire, take that ESC out, clean up all the holes, clean up the wire ends of all the excess wire solder, and then put all the wires back in and then solder them all back in place. There's a couple ways you can do it. I put all my lead wires in and then I soldered them all, or you can just do one, solder it, one at a time, and solder them each individually. It's not terribly hard to go ahead and just slide them all up in there, put your flux on there, get your little solder on the tip of your soldering iron, and hit each point, and you're good to go. And in case I fail to mention it in the video, make sure you clean up all your solder points when you're done. I take a little brass brush and I just lightly wipe over them to make sure that none of them are touching, and then I take a little, you can get a flash-free electrical cleaner. In this case, I don't have any with me right now, but I have alcohol and a lint-free rag, and just kind of dab it on there and clean them up, or you can use a Q-tip or something like that. So that's it. Hopefully this video helps you if you need to replace your ESC or motors. It's not impossible, but it is not real simple. So if you are somebody that's not real good with a soldering iron, your solder skills are real low, or you've never soldered before at all, this might not be the job for you, unfortunately. But at least you'll know how to do it, and you can find somebody that's real good at this stuff, a hobby shop, electrical shop, someplace that works on circuit boards or something, and they can do it for you. And I think that's about it. So the rest is just watching the video, and I probably won't do any type of closing on it. So thanks for everybody that subscribes to my channel. This is a big job, so now would be a time to hit that thumbs up, and all you newcomers, hit that subscribe button. Everybody hit that bell so you get future notifications of any content that I have. And that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this will help you and you'll learn something. So go watch that video. Take care. Alright, so I already have some parts taken out. This part and this part is underneath the gimbal. This is underneath the shoulder of the leg, and this is underneath the shoulder of another leg. I already have all the screws removed. Everything is loose and ready to go. But what we're going to do is we're going to be changing the ESC'S. So we'll flip it over. You see I have these removed, and I'm doing this just to show you removing these arms and rerouting these wires that go through. That basically is a cam for locking your arm. The way those run through there, then come down here and shoot down the arm to the ESC, it's not going to be something you want to attempt to do, and I'm not going to do it that way myself. So I've just removed that to show you that. And then this one, this leg here, I'll remove the top shoulder and show you that. But what we're going to do is just start taking it apart, and what you're normally going to do is I've got this little tool here. You're going to remove the top. Oops. You'll remove this, and don't forget your little power button. And then you'll take 2 screws out of here. You'll remove these 2 pieces here from the gimbal in the front and the back. They hold this top cover in place. Then you have a screw here, and you have a screw here. So once you've removed all those, you're going to lift the sticker on the shoulders, and you'll find one of these little pill looking things, these little tabs. You're going to remove that, and then you're going to remove the screws from the shoulders. Like I've said, I've already done that, and if you need further, slower instructions on how to do all this, just refer to my video that I will add to the end of this one, and it'll show you more detail on how to remove all this. So once you have the top loose, I'm going to be spinning this around a lot. You want to just open it like this, because you have a plug right there and a plug right there. So you've got glue on these. You're going to want to loosen up that glue with a razor, an X-Acto knife, or a utility knife or something, and then you can simply unplug them. So we're going to do that and put this aside. We're done with that. So your next step, trying to keep it to where you can see it. Your next step is going to be removing this plate here. So you need to take the screw out of the barometer here and here. Just lift it up. Be very careful with that cable. Take the plate out. It just snaps into place. And then I suggest at least putting one screw back in here. That way you do not have to mess with the ribbon cable and unplug it, and you don't have this thing flopping around. So I suggest you put one screw back just to hold that in place. So let's go ahead and just put that screw in, and that way we keep it nice and secure. I think that's the screw. So now that's secure. Because you don't want this flopping around, and you don't want to break that ribbon cable. Trust me, people have done it. I have enough of them here to show you. I've got probably 2 or 3 of them from quads I've worked on for other people. Ribbon cables are the biggest thing that have a problem when you go to work on them. So the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to unhook your ribbon cable for this power cable right there. And again, it's going to have glue on it, so you're going to want to loosen that up. And then we have this cover here, which just snaps on. Get your fingernail under it, and then that comes off like that. Then you're going to want to unsnap this one right here. I don't have the best nails, but again, all of these are unsnapping very easily. It's not going to be that case for you. You've got to loosen up the glue on both sides, so you want to make sure you do that. Everything's going to look easy on this for me, but for you it's going to be a little different story. Even this is glued down, which on mine it was just setting in there loose, but you're going to have to take it and carefully pry it off, and do not damage these plugs. So from there we're going to unhook these. So these 2 plugs are now unhooked. And out of the way. And then the next thing is removing the cover for the Wi-Fi module. And you have 2 cables right there. You can lift it up a little bit here and unsnap that one and unsnap that one and take the board out. So there you see where all the wires come in for the ESC'S. This is for the front legs, and this is for the back legs. When you want to go and route those wires, it's not going to be easy, and that is why I've taken this apart. It's just so I can show you. I forgot to remove these screws. Just so I can show you it's not an easy task. Much easier to do it the way we are going to do it. Okay, now to do this, you just take these 2 screws out, and then there's going to be one right here underneath, and then the 2 screws I removed, and that pops right out. Alright, so we are that far to where you can see, just like you saw under here for this one, the back leg is the same way. These are not easy to slide down through there. Once you start taking all this apart, you are putting yourself at a little more risk for doing other damage. You've got 2 screws down in the bottom here that you can remove this bottom portion of the shoulder and be able to get this leg off. But again, it's not as easy as you think. So the way we're going to do it does not involve taking any of this apart. So my only reason for taking this apart today was just to show you that's what it entails if you want to go further and try to remove these legs. If you've broken your leg, then you're going to need to go this far, remove the 2 screws way down inside here, unsolder your wires from here, and then take your leg off and put it back on. Same goes for the front. You're going to want to remove all this, take the leg off. This leg is a little more difficult to take off. I think there's one more screw in there. I'm not sure. But I haven't had to do that yet. And if you request for me to do it, I'm not going to do it. But I will do it this way. So now we have the quad apart, which we don't need to do if you're going to do it this way. And again, the only reason I did that was just to show you, if you do go that route, if you have to go that route, now you know basically what all it entails. So let's try and get this turned around the best we can. So we're going to go after this one first. You're going to remove the screw right here. Right here. I've already removed it. So you take that screw out. And you get your little tool, whatever you use, and you just pop the shade off. Now you're going to have another screw right here. And you're going to remove that. And I should mention too, remove your battery. We have everything unhooked already, but we should have removed that battery first. So now we have the ESC screws out, the covers off, the screws out, and you've got a little guide here. You just want to lift the ESC off of that guide. Like that. And then you can see the bottom of the ESC. You have several wires that you're going to have to unsolder. Let's get this focused. There you go. Try and keep it focused, bring it in. Come on, focus. Hopefully you can see that good enough. But you have 4 black wires, and then your red, yellow, and black wire here is for the motor. And then for the motor you have 3 screws right there. And then what we're going to have to do is just pull this to where we can get to the solder. The solder is on this side, and the wires go through 4 holes for that solder. So if you have a solder remover or extractor tool, which I cannot find mine, it's really good to be able to loosen up that solder and remove it and then start fresh with new solder. But we're going to have to do it a little harder today because so far I cannot find my extractor. And what we're going to do is undo the ESC power wires first, and then we're going to do the motor wires second. Now what you want to do is keep these wires in line, which they should stay in line just because they're stuck together. As you go further down, they're all stuck together, so they should stay in line like that. But if you want to take something and mark each individual one, take a picture of it, that's probably a good idea. And then also you're going to want to take a picture of your wires here, red, in the order of red, yellow, black, because if you reverse that, your motors are going to turn the opposite direction. So you want to make sure you put everything back exactly how you see it right now. So excuse me. Next, let's go ahead and undo the solder and the wires, and take the ESC out, and then we'll reverse and we'll put everything back together. Okay, so now we are zoomed in. I'll try to get some good light so we're not shadowing. And the way we're going to do this is when you unsolder it, you're going to have to kind of pull at the same time. Sorry, I'm not a hand model, guys. So the tighter wires are actually the motor wires. So let's undo the motor first, and that way I can hold it this way and kind of pull at the same time. Okay, yellow's out. Now our red wire. Grab it with the tweezers. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of twisting it so I can pull it, put pressure on it. And red wire slipped out, I think. Nope, still in there a little bit. Red wire's out. Okay, so that's those three. And we kind of moved out of the picture, sorry. So I've got the red, yellow, and black out. Now we're going to go for the other wires, which should get easier as we get each wire out, because then you can grab the board and pull it better. Alright, so it's cooled down now. There's my three wires. And that's the order they're going to go back right there. I'm just straightening out the tips a little bit so when we put them back it should be easier. We're going to have to clean that board up and get some of that solder out of there to make it easier as well. But let's go ahead and undo these wires here. Really need to get the tip of this in better shape. Okay, we got that wire out. And then we're going to just do the same with each wire. Okay, let's heat her up. Okay, we got the second wire out. Get the third one out. Okay. And the last one will be easy because we can just tug on the board. So let's heat that one up. And she's out. So there it is. There's your ESC. The LED on it. So it's an ESC / LED as well. So that's how you remove it. And again, we want to keep these wires in line just like they go back, which automatically they pretty much just stay that way. So now what I want to do is I just want to clean up, sorry I can't, I just want to clean up these solder points so it's easier to get my wires back in. So I'm going to clean those up now and then we'll get back at it. And then at this point, if you have gone this far and replaced your ESC, I would replace the motor as well. Because sometimes you think you have a bad motor and you unhook this, replace the motor, hook your original one back up with a new motor, and it still doesn't work because your problem was the ESC. Your ESCs, if they burn out the wrong way, they can take out your motor as well. So, or do damage to it. So as cheap as this stuff is, price-wise, I would get an ESC and a motor. If you're going to go this far into doing a job, it's probably best to replace both. But once you've got the ESC out, you've got 3 screws. And there's your motor. That is it. Motor is out. That's what it looks like for any of you curious ones that don't need to do this but want to see what the motor looks like. That is it. So again, we want to make sure we keep these wires red, yellow, black when we hook it back up. So we're going to go ahead and push that back up through. This other black wire you see running across right here, that's the antenna. We're going to run these back up through and line our holes up and tighten the screws. And it never hurts when you replace a motor and you put those screws back in. It never hurts to use a medium strength thread locker. It's medium strength, so that way when next time you have to remove it, it's not locked in real hard. And it's good to do that because the vibration of the quad, in case it loosens up your screws. So there's a quick look before we put it all back together. And now the fun of putting that back together. Okay, so you can see I've got the holes all cleaned out. So now the goal is to put all the wires in and let it set like that and then solder them. So with the white backdrop there, you can see all the holes are open. And by doing that, you can use a solder extractor. I could not find mine, so I basically just had to put some flux on there and heat them up and run a needle through it at the same time. So that's how I got mine cleaned up. So I'm going to go ahead and put all these wires back in place by hand and fumble around and probably block the camera. And once I get them all in, then we'll come back and we'll drop a little dab of solder on each one of them. Okay, so all the lead wires I have in place. You can see maybe right here. Kind of hard to tell because right now I have some flux on the tips of them. I just have the wires pushed up through there. And then I want to put a little bit of solder on the end of my soldering iron here. And I'm going to do each one of them with a little dab. One. Not exactly spreading the way I want it to. I just want one nice little bubble, basically. There we go, that's a good one. See if we can get a couple more on there. That's a good one. Okay, got them all. Okay, so that's all the lead wires. They're all in place. See if you can tell here. See them? right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I'm going to do the motor wires. So now that all our lead wires are done, let's get all these other wires in place where they need to go, and then we'll solder them. Try to get them lifted up here, and it's not easy to do. I'm going to try to do it so you can see this time. Okay, the black is in. See if I can bend the tip of it to keep it in. And you can solder them one at a time if you want. I'm going to try to get all 3 of them in like I did the other wires. If not, then I'll have to go that route one at a time. Yellow does not want to come through there. I didn't get all the solder out of the hole, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna have to probably clip the end a little bit on that yellow one because there's too much solder on there. Alright, let's try this again. I'm trying to do this so you can see. When I did the lead wires, I put them all in and then came back and we soldered them, but I wanted to try to do these 3 and have you watch me put them in. But it's not going so smoothly. Black is in. This yellow one is the one I've been fighting. Okay, yellow's in. Come on, red. Red's not. Just get that red one in, we'll be good to go. You can do these one at a time, or like I'm doing, which is actually harder, but there, they're all in. Okay, so at this point I don't want to move it because I don't want to knock those wires out. There, I'm able to bend them a little bit so they'll stay in place. So now I'm going to just take a little flux with my toothpick and put on the tips of them there. And get some solder on the tip of this solder iron. Make sure you can see that. Okay. Next one. Okay. Last one. I think they all look good. Let's see here. And they look good. Don't think anything's touching. Let's make sure on that middle one I'm not crazy about it. Okay. They look okay. None of them are touching. And there we go. Everything's soldered back together. It's not beautiful, but it will work. So now, let's get this show on the road here and finish up. You want to push these back into place. Right over there. There's 2 pins at the top of my finger there. 2 white pins you can see. And they go right in there. Then we get the screw. Put it back in this hole here. Try to keep it so you can see. Snug it up. Okay, ESC is in place. Put this back on. Snaps right on. Get your other screw. Put it back. And that's it. That's how you replace an ESC and the motor. And like I said, I would do both this and the motor at the same time, because now that you see it's not such a simple task, while you're in there you might as well do them both. So that's that. And the back foot, I'm just going to show you how to get to the ESC. Back foot's a little different. You got this rubber pad. You want to peel back the rubber pad right here. And then there's a screw right on the end there. You take that screw out, which I already have, and then you unsnap this, and it's on there really good. I mean, it snaps real good, so it takes a little bit of work to... Oh, that one made a liar out of me. Okay, comes right off. So, same thing. You've got another screw right here. And we're not going to replace this ESC, but we can show you. And I probably could have taken the easy route and replaced this one because I have much more room, but the other one's much harder, and I'd rather show you that one. Okay, so on this motor you've got black, yellow, red instead of red, yellow, black. And there's your motor screws right there. 3 screws for the motors. So same thing. I mean, it's just the same thing in different placement. Line up the tip right there, tip 1 and tip 2 right there, and then put your screw back, put your foot back, and then put the other, put that back, put your screw back here, put your lampshade back on, peel that back, put your screw back in, and you're done. So that's how you replace the ESCs and the motors on the Hubsan Zino. And let's back out here. So I've got to put everything back together now. Once I get everything back together, we'll put a battery back in it and make sure that it works. Okay, she's all back together. I just want to remind you, when you're done soldering something with your joints that close together, make sure you take something, like I took my brush and just kind of lightly went over them, and then I took a lint-free cloth with some alcohol. You can use a flash-free electrical cleaner. There's different things, but I just took the alcohol and put it on my rag here, and I wiped my solder joints nice and clean, so all that excess flux and stuff is cleaned up. And then I took and just, you know, got all my, still got some on there, but my black fingerprints. And then the other thing I want to tell you, it's good to buy a spare set of these stickers. Here's the ones I took off. Once you unstick them a few times, they're just no good. So buy yourself 2 or 3 sets of new ones. They're real cheap at the Hubsan website, and when you stick them back on, it'll look like you never had it apart. So now we're going to test. Let me get a little alcohol on here and clean that up. Got to be pretty for the camera. Okay, so let's put the battery in it. And it was this one here that we took out and put back in. So that's the one we want to see light up for sure. We'll get you kind of in the picture here. Turn it on. Come on, yep, we got light. So that's a good sign. Now we'll hook up to the Wi-Fi. Shit, it's locked up on me. Okay, try again. Hook up to the Wi-Fi. There we go. Wi-Fi. Wait for the Zino to show. Oh, right. That was fast. Normally it takes a little while. Okay, we're connected to the Wi-Fi. And I'm only doing it this way because I'm not using my controller, just to test it. Hubsan app. Enter device. Enter main interface. Please don't ask me for a compass calibration. Let's get this done. Alright, so let's do a compass calibration. Normally you want to do this outside where you're going to fly, not around any electronics or magnets. It'll take a little bit longer probably because I've got all kinds of stuff around me. Okay, put that leg back in view. Open my props up, get everything out of the way that can get hit. Put it back. Should be good and clear there. Okay. And bind. Skip the GPS accuracy test since we're indoors. And since you can see it, this is good stuff to buy right here. Liquid tape. It's basically liquid electrical tape. Just thought I'd throw that out there. And we should be bound to start the motors. I'll move my hands out of the way. And they didn't start. Let's go and double check. Where am I? Okay. We're bound. Oh, I know what you need to do. We got to go set it so we can start it with weak GPS. Aircraft requires strong GPS. No. Turn that off. Now we should be able to start the motors. Take your virtual sticks. There you go. She's working. Put my hand on it here. Give it a little throttle. Something hit the prop. Okay, it's working. Now shut it down. So just do the one. Success, guys. Thank God. So at this point would be a good time to hit that thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And just want to stress that, again, this is not something you easily go and do. You need a little bit of a skill level. It's tiny stuff you're working with. You need the right tools, and you just need to take your time. So if you have to do this, buy the motor and the ESC together, replace them both at the same time, and be done with it. That is the best way to go, in my opinion. And that's going to wrap it up. So thank you guys very much. If you're new to my channel seeing this, please do subscribe. Hit that bell for future notifications. And as always, thanks for watching. Hit that thumbs up on your way out. Take care.